Often in high conflict divorce, one of the dirty tactics which is used by a spouse who is looking to take as much advantage as they can is using time to their advantage. So non-disclosure is a classic taking advantage of time. It's also a crime. It's totally illegal. You have to disclose all of your assets to the court as right from the start. But if your spouse is not disclosing their assets, if they're hiding them, then you're most likely having to find that you're having to fight through the whole thing to fight for disclosure, which is court ordered anyway. And the whole idea behind this is to exhaust you. This is guerrilla warfare tactics. They want to eventually make you just say, okay, I give up. And, they win. This is guerrilla warfare. This is the art of war. This is rules for radicals. This is how often we see individuals attacking others. It's kind of very difficult. And if you're going through divorce, and this has nothing to do with whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you're old, young, black, white, rich or poor. If you're going through a divorce and your spouse wants revenge, then it's the perfect opportunity for them to get revenge because it's a high conflict situation. Mediation, not a high conflict situation, is often totally bypassed because a spouse will know that if they can find a lawyer who is willing to be very, very aggressive, to really go for that high conflict divorce, then even if a spouse wants a resolution which is fair, just and reasonable, an outcome, and to move on to their own life, then they're not going to get it because the spouse's lawyer is going to ensure there's always conflict. There's always a new wild goose chase, another form of time wasting. Also, something called non-communication as a tactical device. Sounds pretty hardcore. It is. So if your lawyer sends an email to your spouse's lawyer and there's no answer, just radio silence, this is called non-communication. They're not communicating as a tactical device. Literally, they're doing it as a tactic in order to play for as much time as they can. Because often what we see is that spouses want to get to the court case with the other spouses having as little information as possible. So they're going to say, you're required legally to give certain amounts of information even before you get to the first court case. If a spouse manages to get to that first court case and hasn't given the information, then you have to spend money on your lawyer fighting in court to get the disclosures of information that your spouse was legally obliged to give in the first place. That's excruciating, amazingly emotionally painful, amazingly expensive, all of this. And you have lost the opportunity at that court case in order to address what the real issues are. And you've ended up fighting for what should have been disclosed before anyway. And that's the whole idea behind high conflict divorce. It's to waste as much time and as much money and as much energy as of your energy. Basically, if you're the spouse that wants a happy separation, then it's very unfortunate. But I'm also going to say it's a journey of empowerment. It's the only other way you can look at it. If your spouse wants you to suffer, they're willing to do whatever they will in order for that to happen, for them to win. And remember, this isn't about sex. This isn't about men or women. This happens to both men and women, maybe in different percentages. That's not something that I look at, because it's basically, if your spouse wants revenge, it's the perfect process for them to get revenge. So what we have here is the divorce solution. Basically, me telling you this is to be aware that for every communication that comes in, say you send out a communication to your spouse, or your lawyer sends it to their lawyer and nothing happens, and you're heading towards the court case the whole time. There are things that you can do. Obviously, they are not allowed to do this. They can get away with it if nobody calls them on their horse shit. And you need to learn the tools that you can use to call them on their horse shit. Solicitors get in a lot of trouble. Barristers get in a lot of trouble if they get caught with their pants down doing this kind of stuff. But the court relies on the fact that no one knows how to kind of expose them with their pants down. Our tools help you just address the situation. They're not our tools. We highlight the tools that are available to you to highlight the situation to the court. Because after all, it's supposed to be fair, just, and reasonable. Principles of fairness. You know, you're putting it in front of a judge so that she can look at everything and say, okay, look, genuinely I think this. Some judges, let's say, have, their own ideas. But your job as someone going through high conflict divorce is simply learn how to master your emotions. So if you do get a communication from the other side, say you've asked a question, the communication comes in, they've asked you a question, it's offensive, borderline, kind of abusive, and what they're trying to do is flare your ego. They want you to say, because what they don't want is for you to realize that they have dodged your question. This is like training puppies. When they piss on the carpet, you pick them up, you put them outside. So you be aware of that those difficult emotions inside. And instead, you talk about it with a friend. You go for a run. Eat kind of, rice pudding, chocolate mousse, whatever. Nurture yourself. Smoke a cigarette, if that's your thing. If you're going to have a drink, just be really careful. Because what you want to do is be in control of your emotions when you respond. Because you want to respond, not react, which is why it's a great idea when going through all of this stuff to have a buddy, in order to be able to say, you are not going to believe what they just sent through. Your outrage can go to your buddy, your girlfriend or whatever, in order that they can say, because they're going to be objective about this. You're not objective about this. This is your divorce, your money, your emotions, your kids. It's all very emotional. So your friend is going to go, that's really not okay. And they're going to help you set in context all those emotions and what you can do. And then when you're calmer, so wait 24 hours, because in that 24-hour period, there are going to be ruminations, rumblings going on in your brain, and you're going to be able to go, okay, so they didn't answer this question. They said this. It looks like they're fishing for this. It looks like they're trying to send me on a wild goose chase down here. And what I most need to know is this and this. So actually, we're going to send back the original question. We're going to say, you haven't addressed our original question. You're required to address our original question. But actually, subsequent to your email, we also need this point and this point raised. This is really easy for a solicitor because they're objective, they're making money from you. They love it. They don't have to get emotional about this stuff. In fact, they're probably celebrating every time your spouse or their solicitor or barrister, and this is non-jurisdictional advice. I'm saying solicitor and barrister, but actually what we're talking about is lawyers in common law countries. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, not Alaska, the United States, and the United Kingdom. These all the legal systems run on the basis of common law principles, which are, you're not allowed to lie, cheat, and steal. If your spouse is using non-communication as a tactical device, if they are dodging the question, if they are sending you on wild goose chases, doing everything to exhaust you, these are all forms of dishonesty. These are all forms of lying, cheating, and stealing. And what you need to do, learn your emotions, learn the principles of law, the tools that you can use to implement the principles of law in your own case. You are the expert. You just don't know the law or the legal stuff. So learn the principles of law that govern the process that you're going through. You don't have to be a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, can't give legal advice. I don't give legal advice. We give principles of law, information on tools that you can use, information on tactics being used against you, and information on tactics you can use. Let's call them, I guess they would call them, white hat tactics. So, on a list of things which you believe are not lying, cheating, and stealing. All of that will help you create a roadmap for your divorce, which is essentially a roadmap of empowerment from this old situation, which sounds like you don't want to be married to that person anymore with good reason, over to a new situation where you can start a new life. And remember, the people who want revenge are not a gender. They're not men, they're not women. It's kind of everyone. They're not rich, they're not poor. Don't marry the same kind of person, if you're going to marry again, who would be wanting to take you through the same process again. This is not about the him versus her. This is about, is this person warm-hearted or cold-blooded? You're going through a process with someone who may be cold-blooded. And so you need to do everything you can to gather all your own stuff so that you can decide what to do. My name's Mark. This is The Divorce Solution. If you're interested in empowerment videos and in videos teaching you the principles of law, then hit the subscribe button. If you've got any questions for us, put them in the comments below. We can make a video on questions that you may have, if it's appropriate. And if you are going through a divorce and you want an assessment, you want someone to read your case and highlight if any crimes have been committed, this isn't legal advice, this is simply information on what crimes are, what makes up perjury. How do you know if your spouse committed perjury? Well, they made a sworn statement, knowing it to be false, for the purposes of cheating you out of your money. Well, that's perjury. It's a crime. Spouses go to prison for this. That is the service we provide. It's not legal advice. It's simply highlighting the elements that you need to know are principles that make up criminal law. Family lawyers can't advise on this. If you find a family lawyer who is willing to advise on crimes committed during divorce, then put him or her in the comments and we will give a massive shout out to them. My name's Mark, this is The Divorce Solution. This is your next video.